The neighbor refused to pay my son, so I threatened to put a lien on his car. My son, 14 male, recently started washing cars in our neighborhood to earn some money. I, 36 male, own a small detailing business, and Jake has been learning from me. He's really passionate about cars and wanted to start working on his own to gain experience and save up for some new tools. About a month ago, our neighbor, Mr. Thompson, 54 male, approached Jake and offered him $50 per wash to clean his silver Mercedes once a week. Jake was thrilled. This was his first real job, and he wanted to do a great job. Over the next 4 weeks, Jake worked hard on that car. He vacuumed the interior, scrubbed the tires, polished the exterior, and made sure every inch of it looked perfect. Since I oversee his work and let him use some of my professional supplies, I always double-checked the results, and honestly, the car looked fantastic every time. Jake even took photos to send to his grandpa because he was so proud of his work. Last Friday, Jake came home looking upset. When I asked what happened, he told me Mr. Thompson had refused to pay him, not just for that week's wash, but for the entire month. Mr. Thompson told him the car wasn't spotless, and that he didn't deserve to be paid. He even had the audacity to say it was a good life lesson for Jake about how the real world works. Jake was devastated. He'd spent hours on that car each week, using high-quality supplies and pouring his heart into the job. To hear that it wasn't good enough crushed him. I was furious, not just because of the money, but because I felt Mr. Thompson was taking advantage of my son's hard work and trying to exploit him. The next morning, I went over to speak with Mr. Thompson. I asked him politely why he hadn't paid Jake, and he repeated what he'd told my son, that the car wasn't spotless and that this was a learning experience. I explained that Jake had spent hours on his car, using professional-grade supplies from my detailing company, and that if he'd been unhappy with the work, he should have addressed it earlier instead of waiting until the month was over to refuse payment. I also mentioned that Jake had taken photos of the car after each wash, showing how clean it was. At first, Mr. Thompson brushed me off with some smug comment about teaching kids the value of hard work. But I wasn't about to let him get away with this. I calmly informed him that since Jake used my company's supplies and was working under my supervision, I would be filing a contractor's lien against his vehicle for unpaid services if he didn't pay what he owed. I also mentioned that I was prepared to get the police involved for theft of services if necessary. That got his attention. He quickly backpedaled, went inside, and returned with $200 in cash. He handed it over, muttering something about not wanting to deal with this nonsense. When I gave the money to Jake, he was shocked. "You actually got him to pay me?" he asked. "You earned it," I told him. "Don't let anyone make you feel like your hard work doesn't have value." Since then, a few neighbors, 38 female and 42 male, have told me I went too far and should have just let it go. They think threatening a lien and involving the police was an overreaction. I don't agree. Jake did the work, and Mr. Thompson tried to take advantage of him. Standing up for my son felt like the right thing to do, but now I'm wondering if I handled it poorly. Am I the asshole?